Hello everybody, this is Kyle from Teacher's Teacher, and in this video we're going to take a look at some of the advanced features that Google Docs has to offer teachers and students. Now we're going to start with taking a look at the page setup for Google Docs, and we can find the page setup by going up to File and then going down to Page Setup. And when you click this, a new window is going to pop up and it's going to give you some information and choices of how you can customize your document. Now, some of the main things to see here is we have the difference in orientation of the page. So we have portrait mode, which is just that vertical directionality of the page, but we can switch it to landscape mode. And if we hit OK after clicking landscape mode, we can see that the page now is kind of turned and sitting on its side, which is a different way to work and a different way to print. But I'm going to go ahead and flip that back, go to page setup, put it back to portrait. Now what we can also do is we can change the margins and we can change the actual size of the paper. If we're printing something different that's much larger or smaller or just a different size than a regular piece of paper. And the margins are going to determine where the workable area for the paper is going to be when you print it. So we put it back to portrait mode. Let's just hit OK and take a look at our document. And we can see that right now the margins, which is really just describing the distance that the text of the page has to the edge of the page, we can see that this is 1 inch, and we have it set to 1 inch margins on the top, the bottom, the left, and the right. But let's say that I want to fit more words on this page, but I don't want to change the size of the text. Well, what I can do is I can change the margins. I can make the margins a little bit smaller on the right and the left to have more space provided for the text. So I'm going to go up to File, I'm going to go to Page Setup, and for the right and the left margins, I'm just going to cut those in half. So right now they're 1 inch, and I'm just going to cut those down to 0.5 inches. And I'm going to copy and paste it there, and I'm going to hit OK. And we can see that now there is a ½ an inch. We can see that this blue margin line has moved over. We have ½ an inch now between the edge of the document and where our text can start on both sides. So it looks a little bit wider. We can fit more information, more text on the page. Really, the only thing you need to be careful with this about is printing. Make sure your printer can hit those margins, which usually, if you're going to ½ an inch, there really shouldn't be a problem. Now, within Page Setup, there also is a really cool option. Let's say maybe we're not using this document to be able to print. We don't want to print it. We're actually just using it for a Google Classroom assignment, and we really only need students to interact with this in a digital format, no printing whatsoever. But we can see that we have these normal kind of printing lines. We have this page break here, cutting the information from page 1 to page 2. But like I said, we're going to be doing this, or we're going to be using this document totally online, so we don't need that margin. So I'm going to go ahead and go into Page Setup, and there's a newer option that Google Docs has where you can take this and you can turn the setup into a pageless setup. So if we click this button here, it shows us a nice little animation of the traditional page versus what it looks like to be pageless. Now you can change the background color if you want to. We're going to leave it white, but I'm going to go ahead and hit OK on the pageless document. Open that up, and you can see as we scroll now, we have really no defining edges of the page anymore that show us where the printable area would be or the edges of the paper because it is pageless. Now the cool thing about this, again, if we're only working in a digital space here, is I can just scroll down and you can see that there is no page break, and I can continue to add content to this, whether it be pictures, tables, text, and it'll just be one flowing document without any interruptions via that page break. In addition, when you have this mode set up and you add things like tables and images, they can go outside to the right and to the left outside of the bounds of the margins, because you're not going to print it, so it's not going to mess up the printing at all, right, if it's pageless. So it just gives you a little bit more flexibility to work with. Now there's another cool feature about the pageless documents that I want to show you that relates to the outline feature that we talked about in the previous video. So we have the pageless option turned on from the settings, and what we can do, and you can see here on this document, I have some headers with some information, and I can highlight this information and I can go ahead and turn it into heading number 1. And I can do the same for these other subsections that I have here as well. Heading number 1, heading number 1. Now you can see, once I turn that into heading number 1, assuming everything I have below it is just normal text based on the style, If I hover over this, it actually gives me a little arrow to collapse this heading. So I can click on that and all of the normal text underneath it will disappear because I collapsed it down to save some room. And I can do the same for these other two as well. All the text is still there. It's just a way for me to organize this information and expand and kind of collapse it when I need to and whenever I want to have this information available. This is only available if Pageless mode is turned on. Now the next thing I want to get into are drawings, and let me just expand this out and kind of enter down a little bit. Now there is an awesome feature that you can use within Google Docs that will let you draw pretty much anything, but the cool thing about it is it will also let your students draw anything and actually create drawings and turn information into you via Google Classroom, all digitally from the web. So if I go up to Insert and I go over to Drawing, you can see that it gives me a few options. I can pull a drawing from Google Drive that I've already created, or I can go ahead and click New. So if I click New, a new drawing box is going to pop up, and it gives me a bunch of different options of things that I can add into this drawing. I can add shapes, I can add arrows, etc. I can add text and lines, and I can import pictures as well. But I want to take this drawing and I want to turn this into an assignment piece that I want students to complete. So what I could do as an example is I can just create a text box and I can say something along the lines of fill in the cell below showing organelles. Okay, so I have this text here, and what I'm going to do just to help them out is I'm going to create a shape, which is going to be a circle, or I guess an oval. And this is just going to be the cell that they're going to work with. And this is all within the drawing panel here, the text, the shape, everything like that. And let's just go ahead and make it transparent. So right now I have some text and I have an oval that I'm going to use for the cell. And I'm just going to hit save and close just to see what it looks like on the paper. And you can see that the dimensions of this, it treats it like a picture, right? Like a picture embedded into the document. But what you can do to edit this is you can double click and it'll bring you right back to the drawing space. Now, if you want students to utilize this, you can add some text here saying, double click on this image and use the scribble feature to draw in the organelles. So what they can do, and if you are using this on Google Classroom and you have it set up to where each student gets their own copy of this document, they can double click on this. They can go up here to the scribble feature under the line icon, and this will allow them just to click and draw. So I can draw things like a nucleus with the nucleoid region, and I can draw maybe like a Golgi apparatus, right? Different parts of a cell that I want them to draw, and maybe a mitochondria here, something like that. So it's just a pretty cool feature, completely built in if you're looking for them to draw really anything. And you can customize and have students actually produce work, put it in here, hit save and close, and now this is part of their document and they can turn this into you on Google Classroom. My one recommendation though is that if you're doing this with your students for the first time, you have to walk them through it, pull it up on the projector, show them how to double click and also add text, right? I usually do something along the lines of double click this image to edit, right? Some kind of text like that, just so they know how they can go about editing that and turning that in. Now, another cool part I want to quickly go over is a tool for you to add equations into Google Docs natively, which is pretty awesome. So if you go up here to Insert and you scroll all the way down to Equation and click on that, you're going to see that this new equation bar is going to pop up here at the top, and it's going to give you options to add in mathematical expressions that you can then edit and just add more information to. Let's say we're trying to divide, right? We have A divided by B. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that. And I have this little section right here where I can put, 4, and then I can hit tab, and then I can put 5. And if I click off of it, we see 4 over 5, right? And that looks so much better than me trying to do like 4 divided by 5 or something like that in a different way. Just an easy way to add in some math equations. The next thing I want to go over for Google Docs are page translations. So if you have, students who speak different languages and you are looking to translate a document for them, what you can do is you can go up here to Tools. You can click on Tools and go down to Translate Document. You click on this and it's going to give you an option to rename this new copy. It's going to create a copy of your current document, and it's going to give you an option to choose a language. So let's say I want to go ahead and translate this into Spanish. We have a bunch of different options here. I'm going to go all the way down to Spanish. I'm going to click on that, and I'm going to hit Translate. And it's going to take everything in my previous document. It's going to open it up, and it's going to translate it. And you can see that it is all now in Spanish, and some of the formatting options that I had are still here, right? The collapsible and expandable piece is there. And again, still translated. Now, what didn't translate, we can see, is any text within the Google drawing that I created, and that's because this isn't text that's sitting on the page like this text is. This is actually part of an image. So the translation option did not read that, so good thing to know if you have any of that. But a great and quick way to translate. Now, I will warn you, these translations will not be 100% perfect. And if you are going to do something like this, if you have a friend who actually speaks the language fluently, if you want to have them take a look at it, would probably be a good idea. But if you really need to communicate with a student, this is better than nothing. But again, it's not perfect. The next thing I want to talk about are chips. And this is a newer feature that Google Docs has, and it's just a new way to create a link that looks a little bit different. So if we go up to Insert and we go down to Smart Chips, and there's a drop-down arrow here, we have a bunch of different options of adding different smart chips, which are kind of like personalized links that just look neater on the page than just a traditional hyperlink, and it lets you chip different things. So we can select a date, and it's going to give me an option to select the date, select the time, and a time zone if needed, or central time here, and I'm gonna hit OK. Now what this does is it creates a visible grade chip that just has information linked to it, in this case with a date and a timestamp. Now, I really think this comes in handy and it makes things look pretty neater when you're using it to replace links to other documents or links to something like a YouTube video. So let's say that I wanted to link a YouTube video that I made for my students, which this is actually a link. You can see that I paste the link and I just hit the spacebar and it automatically creates just this hyperlink for this video address, this YouTube address. But if I want to turn this into a chip to make it look a little bit neater, I can go up to Insert, I can go to Smart Chips, and I can hit File, and it's gonna ask me to either choose a file, or if I just paste the document there, if I just paste the link there, I can hit Tab to replace it with this chip. This information up here at the top and this chip down here at the bottom, they are the exact same thing. All it is just a link to get you to somewhere else. But this one down here looks much neater. It gives you some information because this right here is just a link. It doesn't really tell you what's going on. It doesn't tell you what the link is. This one says IB Biology A1.1 Water. It's an interactive lecture. It's got a little YouTube icon and it just looks so much neater. Now you can do the same thing here if you want to link to other documents. And if, like you just kind of saw before, if I go up to File, it's going to give me some options here of linking some other documents. So if I want to link this specific document, it has the nice little Google Docs icon there. And it's just a great way, an easy way for you to link things that look nice and neat on the page. So go ahead and go to Insert, go down to Smart Chips and play around with some of these other ones. Lots of cool options there for you to go through. Next up, we have the Explore feature, and the Explore feature is really cool. It gives you options to do a couple different things. So if I go up to Tools and I go up to Tools and I click Explore, which is also Control-Alt-Shift-I, kind of a pretty long shortcut there, ironically. But if I go ahead and click that, this new box is going to pop up on the right-hand side, and this is the Explore feature. Now, what you can do in the Explore feature is you can search, right? Google is all about searching, and this allows you to search many things all at once, including other documents that you have in your Google Drive and also the web. Now, right now, I just opened up the search bar and I have not searched for anything, but it recognized that this information on my document is about William Shakespeare, so it just kind of auto-populates a couple topics for me, which is pretty cool. But let's say I just want to search William Shakespeare. Now it gives me some options, right? I can search the web for William Shakespeare, and this is just like a normal Google search. I can search images, Google image search for William Shakespeare, and I can search anything in my drive that relates to it. So this is a really cool all-in-one place for you to search many different important places natively within Google Docs. So it's pretty powerful for you not to keep switching back and forth between tabs in your browser. Now, in addition to the search feature, what you can also do natively in this Explore feature and in another way is you can create citations. So let's say, I pulled this information from Wikipedia about William Shakespeare, and let's say that I want to cite this. So what I can do, because this is the link that I pulled this information from, as I hover over this, you can see that little quotation marks appear, and you can cite as a footnote. So if I have my cursor set right here, which is the end of the information that I pulled from that page, I can go ahead and click the footnote, and you can see that a little number 1 is going to pop up there, which is sending you to the bottom footnote of the document, which I scroll all the way down. And again, this is kind of weird because it's a pageless document, but it would normally be at the bottom of a page if you had it set up in the normal page format. But at the end of my document, you can see that I have a full citation here of that specific website. So it's a great way and very easy way to cite some information there as a footnote. In terms of citing documents in other ways, you can also, if I scroll up here and kind of do the same thing, you can go to Tools and you can go to Citations, and this opens up a different citations menu that you can go through. It gives you different formats, MLA, APA, or Chicago, and you can add a citation source. You can say it's a website, and you can add the URL. You can cite it manually if you're teaching students how to cite. They need all this information. But then you go ahead, you click Add Citation, and the same thing is going to happen. But it's going to give you a real citation, not just a footnote, though. Let's go ahead and try this with a website. I'm just going to pull in the Wikipedia site that I had before, and I'm going to hit Search. And we're missing a publisher, but we have all this other information. I'm just going to hit Continue just to show you what this is going to look like. It's auto-populated here in this citation creator. And I'm just going to go ahead and hit Add. Okay, so I have my citation here, my formal citation for a works cited page. And if I'm up here in the text and I want to cite this specific paragraph or a specific section, I can go ahead and click Cite, and that's my internal in-text citation. Now, if I want to create the works cited page at the end, and I have right now just this one citation, but you can continue to add more citations to this, and you just hit Insert Works Cited, it will quite literally create a works cited page for you, based on all of the sources that you added into this citations box. Now, the last thing that I want to go over with you very quickly is something called version history. So this whole time as we've been going through this video, I've been making edits to this whole document. As I've been creating those edits, I've been making a history, or Google Docs has been recording the history of me making those edits to this document. And let's say that I really messed something up, or I kind of deleted everything on accident because I highlighted it all and hit delete, and I need to get it all back. Well, what I can do is I can go up to File, and I can go down to Version History, and I can save this current history of this version that I currently have, and I can give it a name, or I can see all of my version history right here. So if I click on that, it's going to give me some highlights here of different versions of this document. So you can see this one is me creating that document, translating it into Spanish. Then I have my current version here. This is me adding in the chips and the works cited page, etc. So it periodically saves different versions of your work, and it allows you to go back to a prior version if something were to happen, or you just need to go back because you had some information that you had before. It will allow you to do that, which is a pretty awesome and helpful feature if you are making a bunch of different edits to a document. And that's all I have for you for this video with some advanced uses of Google Docs. I hope this was helpful. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.